Tonight we are at step 4, in which we made a searching and fearless moral inventory of ourselves. I think of all the steps, this is probably, this is the most important information. It's the information that we're going to gather to proceed through the rest of the steps. And this is why it is so clear and simple. I mean, even alcoholics can't confuse that, what it says. It says make an inventory of ourselves. And we alcoholics, we can't make a lot out of that. It says inventory ourselves with a couple of adjectives, searching and fearless. Real simple. To get to step 4, we begin at the first step. And each week we do a slight review. And the first step is the beginning, and this is why it's so important. It's the foundation of recovery. What is the problem? We have to gather that information, and we say that the big book gives us the information, the doctor's opinion, to make a self-diagnosis. Probably this seems to be the most evasive thing for the alcoholic, is the first step. It is, I was talking today to some guys, and I was talking about, most people who say have alcoholism today, it is really two things involved. Number one, not only do they have alcoholism, the first thing we suffer from is ignorance. See, if you got a disease and don't know you have it, you got two diseases. You're on top of being an alcoholic, you're pretty ignorant because you don't even know you got it. And so, but most alcoholics will never realize they're alcoholics. Most of them are still blaming on their wife and on their job and on these things. I ain't got it. In fact, as we said, those are the ones that persist not having it are the ones that's got it. The one that swears and curses, I ain't got it's got it. And we alcoholics never realize, but the first step is when we realize that we do have the problem and understand what it is. Once we understand the problem, and in the big book it says we find that we have a disease. We have a disease that is twofold. We have a physical allergy of the body, manifested by the craving of alcohol. And we have an obsession of the mind, a mental obsession, which is manifested by taking the first drink. This is what makes us take that first drink. He said we become restless, irritable, and discontent, and we remember the sense and ease and comfort that came at once by taking a few drinks of alcohol. We alcoholics, we go through a period of time, and this goes wrong, and that goes wrong, and this goes wrong, and this goes wrong, and pretty soon everybody's against you the way it looks. The wife won't do what you want to do, the boss has got you doing the wrong thing, the dog's barking at you, the car won't run, and you ain't got a dime for the telephone, you just got a quarter, and you're mad, all those sort of things. And pretty soon you say, I need to be a drinker, and you probably do. So we reach over and take a few drinks. Not like the guys down at the state hospital down in Benton unit tonight in the detox ward, they just said, I'm going to have a few drinks. They didn't say, I believe I'll go back to Benton. They just said, I'm going to have a few drinks, and they ended up down to Benton. So once we take these few drinks, it sets off the mind, sets off the body. Phenomenon of craving develops and we go through the well-known spree. Doctor said this vicious cycle is repeated over and over again, and many of us know about it. And then he leaves the body. Unless we can experience an entire psychic change, there is little hope for our recovery. And let's remember that even tonight in the fourth step. This is what we are looking for. Really, that's what the fourth step's all about. It's the process, the whole process of recovery is to experience an entire psychic change. Once we see the problem, then the problem reveals the solution. Step 2. The solution, quite naturally, because of these two things, we're powerless. So therefore, the solution is power. And our book said this power had to come within the fellowship of Alcoholics Anonymous, the support of other people. We as people, we need somebody to look at, to focus on. We need an image. I know I did in my life. I needed somebody to look at in the early days, or to be a part of my life. I could go to those meetings, I look at those people, and they were there sober. And I would leave, and I'd have a pretty bad day. I'd do pretty good for a while, but middle of the day, when things started going wrong, I think about those people still down there sober. And so it was a fellowship. It was a support of the other people. There was power in that support, in the fellowship of Alcoholics Anonymous. And that is not enough, our book says, but the real thing is in the spiritual experience that comes through. This spiritual experience comes about through the working of these steps, 3 through 12. And that's what we're all about tonight. We're all about finding that power. It says if your problem is powerless and your solution is power, then the main thing we had to do was to find this power. So our next steps, the 10 steps of recovery, are the steps that bring this about. And step 3 is a decision based on the first 2. So we make a decision to turn our will and our lives to the care of God as we understand Him. And this is just a decision to do that. We talked about this last week. And based on these 2 things, we're an alcoholic, we got 2 alternatives. We say for many, many years, if we look at this, I tried many different things, but all along I didn't have but 2. We don't have but 2 alternatives. Not a lot of things you can do. We say the alcoholic, he can either sober up over here, or he can be locked up or covered up. Usually that's what the book says, death or insanity. We don't have too many choices. So we stand at this turning point and we make a decision between which one we want. And surely, with honesty, and the book says with honesty you can't fail the program. It talks about that's the only thing we have to work these steps. With honesty, we don't have but 2 choices. Of course, with dishonesty, we can have all kind of roads there. But with honesty, everyone will choose this side. No one will want to go back over to here. And if we decide to go this way there, we'll make a decision to turn over our will and our lives. And we talked about last week what our will is. It's simply, our basic instincts are that are within our lives. And we know that those are the things that are controlling us. Those are the things that's dominating our lives. And it says, there seems no way of getting rid of this. We've all seen the damage of self-will. Many times in our lives we said, I'm going to stop that. And every time, most time a person says, I'm going to stop that, well, the horse is already out of the barn, Anytime you talk about stopping something, it's already too late, But once we make this decision, there is work to carry out this decision. And I think many times we say step 3 is the first step in the process of finding this power. My book says it's just the beginning. So it's just a decision to do this. And there are certain actions that have to be taken in order to carry out this decision. So this brings us to step 4 tonight. At the end of step 3, he says, this was only a beginning. He said, next we have to launch on a vigorous course of action. A decision is no better than the actions that follow it. Now, I'm sure some of y'all might have stayed over on the other side too long tonight and drank an extra cup of coffee. And, you get a little uncomfortable, but between 9 and 9 o'clock, you're going to have to make a decision. and that decision will be fine. But if you don't take some action on it, it won't do you a lot of good, Yeah. So a decision is just that, And I'm sure if it was possible, I don't know if we could turn our will and our lives to the care of God, because God gave it to us, And He's made a covenant with us. It's ours. We can turn the directions over to Him, though, but it's ours. We woke up this morning, God, we got what you wanted tonight. And by the way, don't nobody else want it. It's yours. You're the one, you are in it. You're going to ask God, you turn in directions and let God direct it. And so now we have to go away. If we want to carry out this, there's certain things that block us off from God. Always have. This is a problem with our lives. And we're blocked off by self. You know, you show me about any alcoholic, you can stand back and watch him. Any alcoholic, predominantly there'll be three things going on with him. He'll always be mad as hell. You know, ain't no, you know what I mean? At somebody or himself. You know, one or the other. You know what I mean? One or the other. You know, he's always mad at them, or they're always picking on him, predominantly. And regardless to another thing that bothers him constantly, he's always full of fear. He don't know what's going to happen, but it's showing the hell ain't going to be no good when it comes. And he's always interfering with other people. You know, that's the difficult of an alcoholic, really. My sponsor told me, he said, you know, it's a peculiar thing about, an alcoholic is just like a cockroach. I said, what do you mean? He said, well, you see a little ant crawling across the floor, and don't nobody really get excited, you know what I mean? Little ant, getting him a little something, you know, you might, but most time you wouldn't get excited if you see 2 or 3 ants. Maybe 10. One little cockroach started, everybody said, get him, bang, bang, bang. They all want to get that one cockroach. He said he don't eat that much more than that. But everything he don't eat, he crawls through and craps in. So get him, you know what I mean? Oh, he messes up a lot of stuff. Get that. That's why the alcoholic. He messes into everything. Everybody that comes close to him, he touches, he messes up. So, you know, there's no way that God is within. We've said that earlier. Deep down, every person is a fundamental conception of God. God is down deep within us. And to us, our minds are down deep. Our minds so confused with all these things that we really believe that God doesn't exist. You know, because these things have totally blocked us off from this thing that lies within us. And to us, you know, God really doesn't exist. So the real job right now, if we want to make a decision to turn our will and our lives over to the care of God as we understanding from within, then we got to go to work to clear away the things in our mind that block us off from this thing that is within. You know, God ain't lost. I mean, he's been there all the time. So the inventory is a process of this. And God, I think, you know, I'm so blessed that we have this instrument in our lives and the big book and the inventory process. You know, our book is very precise here. For many, many years, even many of us have had a problem. I had problems for years with the inventory. And we did everything else. We were taking the inventory every kind of way, you know. People say, how you do it? And somebody said, well, you know, there's a guy in Minnesota. He's got one of them books. Get that. Somebody said, well, there's another book down in Texas. Get that one. You know. Somebody else said, here's another guide. You get all them guides, get the big book. You get so confused you just don't know what to do with it. You know, the first 100 people laid down their program in our book, and they said this is how we did it. But he tells us, therefore we start upon a personal inventory. And we just look at words. These first 100 people, they sobered up through ideas. Ideas is what change humans' lives. Ideas is what makes money. Ideas are powerful things. And ideas have to be, in order to get an idea from one person to another, there is about few ways we can do it. One way, you can put the ideas down in words. And the other person can read the words and interpret them into the idea in his mind. Another way we can speak the words. This is sound interpreted to get the idea. In this case, the first 100 people got the ideas, and they put their ideas in words in this book, Alcoholics Anonymous. They left a clear path for us. And I think the only way where we get mixed up is we have to really understand the words the same way they understood them. And Bill used the word specifically. He said, therefore we started upon a personal inventory. Now we're going to take, he's going to make 2 inventories here. This was step 4. Step 4 is a personal inventory. Now he talks about another inventory. Bill talked with parables. Many years ago, there was a great teacher. And this teacher had a profound way of getting to changing lives of people. And he had the ability to talk use parables and talk with people right into their understanding. And when he talked to a fisherman, he would talk about fish. And when he talked to a shepherd, he would talk to him about sheep. And when he talked to a farmer, he would talk to him about grain and cattle and vineyards and things like that. And Bill is doing the same thing with us. He said, you need to take a personal inventory. Then he wants us to compare ourselves to a business. He said, a business that take no inventory will go broke. So we're going to look at 2 inventory. We're going to look at our personal inventory, and we're going to look at a business over here. We're going to compare them. You know what I mean? We're trying to find out about ourselves, but we already understand about a business inventory. But we don't understand we're trying to find out about ourselves. So we're going to look at this business and find out how to inventory ourselves. And the word inventory really means, let's get down to that word. An inventory is a written list of items. That's what the dictionary says it is. Of course, we misuse words a lot. We use them very loosely. And all inventories are written. There's no such thing as a visual inventory. A lot of people, times you might go into your kitchen, particularly some of you ladies, and look around and say, and I say, what you been doing? Well, I've been in there taking inventory. Well, if you don't have a written list, you just been in there looking around. You know what I mean? Because all inventories are a written list of items. And it's very important that we do this, because there is no way you could inventory your life in any other way successfully but in a written form. Because the human life is a very complicated thing. There are a lot of things there to inventory. Can you imagine going over to the local grocery store and that businessman says, I'm going to take a visual inventory of my store. He would do fine when he was on the bread. He would have it all in his head. But as soon as he got into the vegetable department, he would forget what he had on bread. Okay? Because you can't do that. In the same way about this. The only way we can go through our lives and get the real facts is as we get these facts to put them down. In the stock and trade in the grocery store is what they got in the vegetable department, the meat department, and bread. That man can make no more money. His money is going to be exactly based on the quality and the quantity of what's in that store. You know? He can't get no more money that day than what he's got in that store. In the human life, in the personal inventory, the stock in trade is the thoughts that go through my mind. Every day, my day and my life is equal to my thoughts. That's all I can trade. We are what we think. See, if you're a carpenter, there's no way that you can go out to St. Vincent's Hospital and work as a doctor, because you ain't got that in your stock. See me? You can only sell what you got. You are what we think. Come on. And what? I love that statement. You are not what you think you are, but what you think you are. So we're going to, and that's a great shame, not only the alcoholic, many people. They are never in their lifetime, they're having all kind of problems. This is going wrong. Everybody's got trouble. But how many people stop to look at the stock in trade? Now, my book suggests that, that we're selling some damaged and unsaleable goods. And boy, I had some bad stock. I was waiting for a big business all the time. One of these days it's going to come in, and didn't have nothing on my shelf. So this is a searching and fearless inventory of our thought processes. He said we did exactly the same thing with our lives. We took stock honestly. First, researching the flaws in our makeup which caused our failure. Being convinced that self manifested in various ways what it defeated us. It was we considered as common manifestations.